Now, as you become more of a conscious creator, you align yourself with the all. This is a very interesting thing. And it says, as above, so below, or so below, as above. So what that means is that you now then start to create with the creator, and then you have more abilities, greater understanding. And this is why in Think and Grow Rich, he talks about in the later chapters of the sixth sense. It says, later on, when you incorporate this philosophy, you will be warned of disasters. You will start to develop an ability to see things that other people can't see. Available on this planet that you might not have been exposed to unless, and he says this in Think and Grow Rich, you follow the other principles in the book. What are the other principles in the book? Well, I recommend reading Think and Grow Rich and watch the video that I did on Think and Grow Rich. But the principles, in essence, are designed to help you gain control of your own mind, focusing your will, increasing your level of awareness, and really concentrating your mental energy towards a specific outcome and connecting yourself and incorporating thoughts that are related to that outcome. Essentially, learning how to use your mind properly. When you learn how to use your mind properly to create outcome by holding on to the mental image in your mind and bringing it forth, you get access to more knowledge, more wisdom. And you keep going down this journey until you attract more teachers, more information, more knowledge that will further dimensionalize and help you understand how this stuff works, which the power of imagination focuses extensively on mentalism. Following the principle of correspondence, we are justified in considering that the all creates the universe mentally in the matter akin to the process whereby man creates mental images. The all, who's the creator, created the universe mentally. So in the Bible it says, God said, let there be light, and then afterwards created all the other things, the elements that God wanted to create, based on mental images that God had in God's mind. And we have the same ability to create. Look around in reality and look at all the different kinds of creation we have. We have computers, we have technology, we have all these different things that are a creation based on a vision of a person. So we have that ability to create. Look at all these things we've created. Okay, some of these things that we've created are so outside of the norm of what would have been, maybe many thousands of years ago, even when this book was created, even when this knowledge was being accumulated and generated and so forth. The stuff that we've created using the very things that are within this book is so outside of belief systems like wireless technology and airplanes and things like that. In science and everything, it seems so obvious. That's why it's always important to remember that when somebody believes in something and they create it, it's easier to reverse engineer and see how it's created. Now, most of us who don't understand this stuff look around to the thinking and knowledge and wisdom from other people who have created stuff in reality and say that's the absolute. Things can only be created based on that. But those that have created amazing breakthroughs as far as technology, as far as whatever in the world that we have today, looked beyond that. They looked beyond what is physical here and held true by holding on to the vision in their mind and believed it to be absolute fact. And some say, in some way, some shape, some form, things showed up. A combination could be some of the things that already exist in reality. But they're not concerning themselves with those kinds of things. They're focusing more on the fact that it will be brought forth. Now, how do you ensure that you keep yourself focused on the fact that it is being brought forth? Well, some of the ways that I find is to make sure that you're consuming information that supports your vision and you're removing out of your existence information that denies the fact that it is being brought forth. Well, some of the ways that I find is to make sure that you're consuming information that supports your vision and you're removing out of your existence information that denies your vision. Number two is to observe how reality is changing to reveal to you about yourself. Principle of correspondence. Things are going to show up that's going to reveal to you. You're going to understand. You're going to say internally, oh, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. And you've got to learn to trust yourself. And then you're going to get ideas. And then what you do is you act upon these ideas. And that's why in Think and Grow Rich, he says, hunches and inspirations will come to you, and you got to act upon them with calm faith. The ancient Hermeticists considered this principle as one of the most important mental instruments by which man was able to pry aside the obstacles which hid from the view the unknown. Principles to help us understand, and more importantly, create in reality that which we can in our mind. So you've got your vision, which is you and all is, or I am, or you could say the all. Identity, how you believe yourself to be internally within yourself, a self-image, and subconscious mind programming. See, this is the thing. If you want to be able to create in reality that which is in your vision, your identity, your subconscious mind programming has to be in alignment with that. And this is why it's important to identify what's in your subconscious programming, which comes as a result of experiences that you had and teachers that you have and different kinds of just circumstances that got you to believe reality to work a certain way and become firm in conviction that it works that way at a subconscious level so that you begin to navigate reality from that perspective. And those elements are revealed to you by your values and beliefs. So, for example, if you have a vision of what you want to create and there's a part of you that believes it's impossible, well, that impossibility, that value and belief that you have from that place of impossibility is coming from your identity within your subconscious. So we use things like auto-suggestions or surrounding ourselves with information to reprogram our subconscious mind to rewrite those values and beliefs so that we feel the empowerment and the possibility of creating that vision. That's what we want to do. So this is a great model to help us with that. Now, the vision and the identity and values and beliefs are metaphysical. Okay, this is all mental stuff here. Then over here, we're talking about physical reality, the earth that we live in, capabilities, behavior, and environment. So our goal is to bring forth our vision into environment, into reality. And it's done through our identity, our subconscious mind programming, which we have to evolve, and it's revealed to us by the different values and beliefs that we have. So this is very important. One of the key elements that help me in my journey is to take notes of the values and beliefs that I have through the law of correspondence. How does that work? Well, as I navigate reality and I'm going about doing my thing, and I have a vision, I look at the external world and I ask myself, how do I feel about what is being presented to me? Is it aligned with my vision? What are the values and beliefs that I'm projecting on to the different elements in reality that is revealing to me my identity and its alignment or lack thereof towards my vision? And what I could do is I can change my identity around so I can look at reality different. And as a result of looking at reality different, my attention and awareness goes on what is related to my vision rather than being polarized from a negative perspective to things that are not related to my vision, which then causes me to mentally put energy onto that thing, which moves me down a different direction. Now, after that, as you start to cleanse up your identity and it's revealed to you by your values and beliefs, you'll start to notice that you're going to attract certain capabilities. You're going to realize that, yeah, I got to learn this skill, or I got to do this, or I got to cultivate this, or whatever. Capabilities flow from that kind of reprogramming. And then from your capabilities, what it is that you're doing. Your capabilities could be different kinds of things. Could be a capability for you. Learning the 7 Hermetic principles and implementation of it is a capability. As a result of learning different kinds of capabilities, your behaviors change. And your behaviors influence your environment. So let's look at it from the top down. You've got a vision. Your identity gets aligned with your vision, and your identity is revealed to you. A circumstance reveals to you about yourself through the values and beliefs that you're projecting from within onto reality, which you can optimize and change your identity within. Then certain kinds of capabilities and certain kinds of information gets attracted to you, and that's why we say here, going back to the beginning, the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. This is another, and it doesn't, I'm not implying that this is the only meaning that this gives. I mean, this is one of the meanings that I believe I have learned through my journey that I'm sharing with you. And as I go through this journey, I'm learning more and more and more. This is some really exciting stuff. Now, what happens then is capabilities. People will come up to you and say, you got to learn this, or you'll attract a certain kind of book, or certain kinds of information will be drawn to, which is going to contribute to help bringing forth your vision. And your behavior is going to change, and the environment will be influenced differently. The Hermetic teachings concerning the process of the mental creation of the universe are that at the beginning of the creative cycle, the all, in its aspects of being, projects its will towards the aspect of becoming, and the process of creation begins. It is taught that the very process consists of the lowering of vibration until a very low degree of vibratory energy is reached, at which point the grossest possible form of matter is manifested. This process is called the stage in involution, which means, or in which the all becomes involved and wrapped up in its creation. This process is believed by the Hermeticists to have a correspondence to the mental process of an artist, writer, or inventor who becomes so wrapped up in his mental creation as to almost forget his own existence and who, for the time being, almost lives in his creation. If instead of wrapped, we use the word wrapped, perhaps we will give a better idea of what is meant. So the idea then, when we apply the law of correspondence and the law of mentalism, principle of mentalism, is to keep your mind on the vision that you have and hold on to that vision and consume information that is related to your vision while you look at the external world, correspondence, and identify what is within you that is aligned and not aligned with the vision, and make the changes within and hold on to that. And then what happens, we move on to the next principle, principle of vibration.
But that's, there's a couple radio shows. I think Radio 1 can see the difference between the Hermetic traditions and the alchemical traditions. But this is the configuration of a two-dimensional imprint that actually, with the magnetic strip, attracts a person to their own demise. And so one is basically to attempt to balance out those kind of currents, because it's not that you're going to be able to just drop it right away. But you're right, that alchemical configuration on that dollar, which is deep levels of symbolism when it comes to frequencies. That's what you see in the webs and the nests. Those are cymatics. And then you see the signature, the two-dimensional imprint of the dead president, which is obviously necromancy, right? You're showing images of someone dead, and then you have their signature there. So this art or craft is ancient. And what it causes is it causes a resonation to the ideas of the core of where those bones reside. So wherever those bones of those presidents reside, they generally are on a field that is configured geomantically to emit this level of enslavery and what's going on with why we have to utilize that particular greenback in order to become a form or a barter system for our energy. So you're definitely right that once one is turned on to their own energetic field, what happens on the money level, again, because the world is using it, is that the money does actually come abundantly as long as one plants it properly. And then eventually you realize, because if you're trafficking in this kind of knowledge, you realize sovereignty is actually obtained first spiritually by disavowing. That just means that you go against the system that is emulating some kind of external entity as being the end-all, finish-off for people. And then you work to control real power, because remember, these in the dominion realm, they're working with electricity. They're working with water. That's their powers. It's not like our ancestors in the level of their power. But through that power still, your water, your electricity, there is a heavy level of control. So when one is able to produce their own water, whether they have a well, their own electricity, whether they're using solar power, then they actually symbolically put their spirit in the next stage of its own sovereign freedom. And so these are things, that's why I say as above, so below. If you find that you cannot work at something on a specific level, there's always a spatial. There's always a place that you can undo or work in a way where you can free yourself from certain things that will otherwise be impossible in certain places. So like,
Principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. You attract who you are based on what frequency you are vibrating at. Based on what frequency you are vibrating at. We'll talk about this in a moment. Knowing this, Hermeticists believe that even thoughts have their own rate of vibration and can be controlled like tuning an instrument to produce various results for the aim of self and environment mastery. As your understanding of vibration, frequency, harmony, and resonance increase, so too shall your power over yourself and your world. So we're talking about now the principle of mentalism, having a vision and identifying through the principle of correspondence what kind of thoughts you have related to your vision. Are they empowering thoughts or disempowering thoughts? And how is that being reflected in the external world? If the outer world is a reflection of your inner world, and your inner world is made up of your thoughts or your values and beliefs identified through your identity, deep subconscious programming and conscious programming that you have, conscious thoughts reveal also what's within your subconscious, and seeing the congruence related to your vision, this will give you a lot of ideas as to what is being created because thoughts are of a vibration. So this is where the law of attraction comes from, the principle of vibration. The idea behind the movie The Secret and Think and Grow Rich is that you want to put your thoughts on the things that are related to your vision. You want to focus on what you want. As you focus on what you want, the vibration goes out into the universe and attracts that accordingly. This is how everything was created. So thoughts, you notice if you hold a thought for an extended period of time, you'll start to attract and bring to your awareness that what is corresponding to that. Your attention and awareness will go on what is that is corresponding to that, and you'll also attract and harmonize with people, circumstance, and environment that is what is related to the vibration of the thought. So this all works really well together. Mentalism, focus on what you want. Law of correspondence, reveal the kind of information that you have within yourself and adjust it so it's tuned into that vibration of thought that you want to maintain for an extended period of time. And then what happens is you attract that is what is in that vibration. Now, pragmatically speaking, let's talk about this for a moment. As I started to evolve in this, I noticed that conversations with people have become more in alignment with my vision. It's almost like when I have a conversation, not almost like I know it as a fact, because this is how it is. When I have a conversation with a person, the conversation can only be about certain topics and about certain ways of looking at that topic. The conversation cannot go into certain threads that the conversation used to go in before, which was a manifestation of what was in my subconscious mind. See, we go and navigate reality and play out reality like theater. Okay, so this is what's happening within. Based on our values and beliefs and how we see reality to work, it's correspondence in the external world. If you don't like something in the external world, you change it within, and you can't replay that again because it does not exist within you. There is a different meaning you now have. And when you embark in a conversation with someone, you want to get business or entrepreneurship, you do a certain kind of business deal, based on how you are within, that's the kind of client, that's the kind of external world business partner, whatever, that you will attract. And when you do attract them, let's say they had elements within them that was based on similar past elements of your subconscious programming, but you now no longer have that within you. That conversation cannot exist on that area. So people will always treat you the way you allow yourself to be treated. There's another way of looking at it. So this is why we always say evolve yourself. Self-respect, self-love is very important because then you're going to gravitate and attract the people that are related to that level of self-confidence and self-love. And the same thing applies for everything else related to the thoughts that you're having. And We're not just talking about conscious thoughts here, we're talking about subconscious thoughts. So you don't, and as the saying goes, you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. So if you say, I want to attract a certain level of finances, or I want to attract a certain level of success, but most of the programming within you is contrarian to that, you're not going to attract it because you're going to attract who you are. However, this should not be disempowering because of the principle of correspondence. You can look at what you're attracting and use it as a teacher. Okay, that's again, we're going back to the main philosophy key point of calibration or discussion. The lips of wisdom are closed except for the ears of understanding.
So then, when I say all is self, I'm talking about the concepts of the unbegotten, meaning before you come in the prism. Because everything in the prism is polarized into its separatism. And that's what's keeping it here. That's what's holding it in a mirror or a crystal. Then when you escape this, when you actually say to yourself, but what is it about that I keep thinking about it if it doesn't exist? Meaning that, who is the prime mover? Look up this term, prime mover. The prime mover or the prime mobile is what they say is spinning the galaxy. And they sometimes, oh, that's God. Or they always give it that role. Who's the prime mover? Us. We are the prime movers. So if we decide not to move into the control point and go into all the self rather than the 7 cards, see, it's this 7 system, which is how they calculate the septidecimal on the stock market, is trading us. You see what I mean? Like, look at what we're dealing with here. That's why the knowledge is deep insight, because if the trading is taking place with this birth certificate and these different certifications that we've agreed to, we've pledged allegiance to, then we become in this system that has set itself up on division. That's why the God is deuce, right? Divided worlds have uses. This is what we need to understand, and it's understood with our growth. Because then you can look back and say, oh, it took me all that to learn this. And it's over, it's collapsed. And it tends to, you actually brought all of what you've been through into a solid point. It is no longer flying everywhere and flying over everyone. And then when you have it now back in your grasp, that's what you implode with. So until then, there'll be anchors, meaning that we'll lodge ourselves in with Illuminatis and different kind of art forms with different symbols that make us mad or make us happy. And still realizing that you have to make yourself happy. So what is it saying? You have to make the world the way that you want it to be. First one, start with a dream. Obviously, you have to work on the body. But in the dream, when the dream begins to run parallel to the reality, then at a certain point you can walk into the dream, or you can see the tomorrow or the next day or a few more days in the dream. This then becomes what happens to you when you supposedly die or divide. You divide, meaning the soul is supposed to leave the body, but it actually doesn't happen. They agree to stay together. The body transforms, so you take the memories with you. You leave with the chrysalis. Chrysalis has so much uses on the galactic plane, astral plane, it's like you just received a medal, a badge of honor. Because it contains all the geometry of stuff that happened here on the world. Now, remember, this is a map. And I want to make sure that you understand this, that what happens here is that we have to navigate through our own consciousness, utilizing these rudimentary building blocks of how things got started. And you see then the ones I sometimes say the ones we don't speak of, but the ones that are causing the negativity as children. You see them in their primordial state. That's why it's primordial gods. They're beyond thinking. What happens is that some people, if they want to understand what these individuals really feel about it, some people are doing things on the internet trying to say they want to be the Illuminati and get on their team, etc. It's like when you walk down the sidewalk and you're not conscious of an ant. You don't even think about it. That's where their consciousness is, in this vacuum called the womb.
success. But most of the programming within you is contrarian to that. You're not going to attract it because you're going to attract who you are. However, this should not be disempowering because of the principle of correspondence. You can look at what you're attracting and use it as a teacher. Okay, and that's again, we're going back to the main philosophy key point of calibration or discussion. The lips of wisdom are closed except for the ears of understanding. So be understanding of the external world to see what is being revealed to you about yourself and adjust that accordingly within. And remember this, as going back to earlier, as I mentioned, we are a net programming of the information that we consume consciously or subconsciously. Information that's being presented to you that's negative and disempowering and makes you feel less than is going into your subconscious mind, and when you have a big vision, it is breaking down the possibility of bringing it so, because that's where the values and beliefs that are being programmed to you throttle your ability to create from that perspective. Now, you can see it in the external world, and you can make peace with it and say, this is what's happening. This is what I'm creating. I can change myself within and keep my thoughts on that what is related, and even subconsciously program my subconscious mind through autosuggestion or meditation or so forth, and align myself to have thoughts that are of the vibration that are in alignment of my vision. This principle explains that the differences between different manifestations of matter, energy, mind, and even spirit result largely from varying rates of vibration. From the all, which is pure spirit, down to the grossest form of matter, all is in vibration. The higher the vibration, the higher the position in the scale. The vibration of spirit is at such an infinite rate of intensity and rapidity that it is practically at rest, just as rapidly moving wheel seems to be motionless. And at the other end of the scale, there are gross forms of matter whose vibrations are so low as to seem at rest. Between these poles, there are millions upon millions of varying degrees of vibration. So what we want to do is we want to adjust our thoughts to be in that vibration of the vision that we want to create. And we want to affirm those thoughts and feelings. It's feelings. See, thoughts create certain kinds of feelings, and that will tell you what you're vibrating. If you feel excited and enthusiastic about what it is that you are thinking about, then you're in the vibration of bringing that forth. Now, if you're feeling negative about what you're thinking about, then you're at the vibration of negativity, and you're going to bring forth that what is related to the vibration of negativity. Thinking about, then you're at the vibration of negativity, and you're going to bring forth that what is related to the vibration of negativity. Let's go back, or let's move forward into the principle of polarity. Everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes are met, all truths are but half-truths, all paradoxes may be reconciled. All truths are half-truths. See, the answer is it depends. One of the things we have to remember is flow. Okay, one of my favorite books is Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. We're going to get more into that when we talk about rhythm, the principle of rhythm. But we have to understand that there's left, right, up, down, and the answer is it depends. And the problem with people who don't know how this stuff works is they snag on one side of the pole. They don't understand that things are, there's two versions of the same thing. Each good, there's evil, like it says right here. Good and evil are but the poles the same thing. And the Hermeticist understands the art of transmuting evil into good by means of the application of the principle of polarity. In short, the art of polarization becomes a phase of mental alchemy known and practiced by the ancient and modern Hermetic masters. An understanding of the principle will enable one to change his own polarity, as well as that of others, if he will devote the time and study necessary to the art and master the art. Now, see, information, this is really cool stuff. This is what you can do. Pragmatically speaking, here's how you apply it. As you navigate reality, observe what polarizes you. What makes you stressed out, what makes you angry, what makes you happy, and so forth. And that's revealing to you a lot about what you're going to create. Because if something polarizes you and makes you angry, then all of a sudden you've gone into that anger vibration. And if that anger vibration, and most likely it's not, aligned with your vision, you're just going to create based on that vibration of anger. This is why it's very important to really become aware of the kind of information that you're consuming. If you're consuming angry information, then you're going to attract that is what of anger. Now, we're not talking about denial here. See, with the hermeticists, they're not saying that, okay, good exists and evil exists, so I'm going to ignore evil. It's not like how it is. It's what polarizes you with the recognition that the opposite pole exists and have acceptance and understanding, and then making a conscious mental choice to polarize yourself to that which is positive. So there's a saying that further verifies this and validates what I'm saying here. It's not what happened to you, or it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. Okay, so if something happens to you negatively that is undesirable and you respond in a negative way, you're now polarizing yourself to it and moving in that direction of that vibration. And that vibration is going to bring forth its correspondence. However, if something negative happens to you and you respond to it in a positive way, okay, rather than reacting negatively, you look at it and say, oh, this is happening. And then you take, and by the way, you get better at it with practice. This is one of the things. What we're talking about here can take you a lifetime to master and go even beyond lifetimes, really, to master this, because it goes on forever. But you can get very far in life by working with these principles. So what polarizes you? Some situation happens in your environment, and then all of a sudden you take a step back and say, oh, I could choose to look at this from a positive note or a negative note. If I choose to look at it from a positive note, it will be in alignment with the vibration that I want to be in to correspond my vision. So I'm going to choose that. Now, this is one of the huge determining factors for success. I realize this whenever thinking we're rich. When I reflect back on my journey of my life, I think one of my greatest skills that I developed was to see what polarizes me and consciously choose to polarize myself to that what I want. And I realized that this is such a high leverage skill that I went to go work on it, constantly writing down the different meanings of what was polarizing me in the environment and choosing consciously to polarize myself in the direction that is related to my vision. So when we combine the principle of polarity and understand that opposites exist, for example, if you're going on to build a business, there's the chance of success and there's a chance of failure. If you're looking to create an ideal relationship, there's the chance of love, or you can experience love, or you can also experience hatred from that same relationship if things don't work out or whatever. There's always two poles, good, evil, up, down. There's always two poles. We have to understand and embrace that exists. Now, here's one of the things that helps us understand and embrace it, is not snagging on either left or right. Is to say all truths are half-truths. And one of the most important grounding factors that I've learned in my journey that helped me so much with this is the realization that no matter how right I am about something, there is a situation where what I believe in adamantly to be true won't be true. Now, this is extremely humbling, and it prevents you from snagging. And what do I mean by snagging when I say snag? Well, the goal is to be in flow. We'll talk about this in a moment, rhythm, where you're navigating reality in flow towards your vision. And snagging is if something polarizes you, and because you have a limited way of looking at reality, you're stuck over there on that negative thing. An example would be, is let's say you're creating success in business. And for some reason, you're maybe driving in your car and there's some negative news report that comes up that makes you very angry. And rather than stopping for a moment and saying, okay, well, that's how that is, and that's what it means, and I'm going to choose to look at this in a positive way, you further unravel yourself in that negativity. Maybe you call up your friend and you start complaining about it and so forth, now changing your vibration, moving in a different direction. So you essentially snagged on that and you didn't remain in flow towards your vision, and you have now gone in a different direction. And one of the videos I'm going to be doing a discussion on is reality transurfing, which offers a great model for navigating reality based on these principles. You essentially went on a different life track, direction. So what we want to do is we want to be keeping in consideration the principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swings, manifest in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. Rhythm will have an effect on you one way or another. But with awareness, you can use it to propel you forward and ride it back to recovery. So think about surfing, for example, or think about anything that is based on rhythm and flow. And so essentially you're going through navigating reality towards your vision. You keep your mind and what is related to your vision. You look at the external world as correspondence, as revealing to you about yourself, and you change the meaning to that, what is in the vibration of that what you want to achieve. You understand there's left and right and different ways of looking at reality, and all truths are half truth, and you're going to make a choice based on what keeps you in flow, knowing that things change. A perfect example, for example, a good example, in the world of business, you can have about 15 or 20 deals on the table, and a handful of them are moving through, maybe a couple of them are moving so close to completion so you can get paid that big dollars that you're looking for, and all of a sudden a deal doesn't go through. Well, understand something. You got other deals in the pipeline. You now move and focus on those other deals while allowing that deal to do whatever it needs to go to completion. If it falls through, it doesn't matter because you're not snagging on it. That's what I mean by snagging on it. So Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich has the 6 basic fears. See, I believe that what causes a person to not value rhythm is fear. That's what I believe. That's what I've come to understand in this journey. And Napoleon Hill mentions his 6 basic fears. I want you to reflect upon these fears. Watch the video that I did on the Think and Grow Rich book, and just study Think and Grow Rich, because it's containing a lot of elements that were pulled from, I don't know if intentionally so, or maybe it's just all related, from the Kabbalion, and it'll help dimensionalize what you're learning here. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, and fear of death. These are fears that you have to eliminate. If you do not eliminate these, you will snag on them, and it will break your flow. Think about it. Reflect back on your life. Pause the video if you have to. And think about times in your life where fears caused you to snag, in part or in whole, granular elements of these or obvious elements of these, and derailed you, threw you in a different vibration. And as a result of that, you lost your flow. You were stifled and you were not moving in this direction that was related towards your vision. Now think about times in your life where you worked and overcame some of these through the journey, and then you created a vision and you were moving towards your goal, and something that might have snagged you from the past showed up, but no longer it snags you, and it didn't polarize you, and you just chose the direction consciously to move forward towards your vision. So understanding the principle of rhythm and understanding what causes you to get snagged within the fears, doubts, and indecision, very important. Eliminate fears, doubts, and indecision. Fears, doubts, and indecision need to be eliminated for this stuff to work to a high degree. Now, as you go through this journey, you're going to automatically reduce your fears, doubts, and indecision. It's going to happen. I'm far more fearless now. I am far more decisive now than ever before because I've been on this entrepreneurship journey for 10 years. And I started this whole journey into this realm of what we're discussing here back in 2004 when I was in corporate around that time, $50,000 debt. And it was the removing of these fears that helped me stay smooth towards my vision. And now that I understand this is what it works, this is how it works, as I raise the bar to higher visions, I find myself understanding how to deal with these kind of things when they show up and not polarize myself to the negative part. Because remember, positive and negative, polarity exists. Rhythm will have an effect on you one way or another, but with awareness, you can use it to propel you forward. All people who experience self-mastery do this to some degree, but those who exert their will upon this principle are able to act from a place of purpose as opposed to letting the pendulum them into reactivity. So we want to respond mindfully to keep the flow rather than react negatively. Now, how do you know what you're reacting to? Principle of correspondence. What meaning are you giving to that which you are reacting to? Number one. And what vibration is it throwing you into, which is going to bring forth its equivalent? All individuals who have attained any degree of self-mastery do this to a certain degree, more or less unconsciously. Remember, we're going in, most of who we are is subconscious, and we have to go in and rewrite our programming in our subconscious. Anyone who practices the principles in the 7 Hermetic Principles, for whatever reason, will always tell you that you've got to go work on your subconscious. You've got to program your subconscious. Because if you don't cleanse your subconscious of the negative or disempowering or what is not related to the vision, it's going to show up and manifest itself automatically. But the masters do this consciously, and by the use of his will attain a degree of poise and mental firmness almost impossible of belief on the part of the masses, who are swung backward and forward like a pendulum. Now look at this. Most people in reality are swung back and forth like the pendulum, reactive to everything. In fact, they don't believe that things are within their control because of the reactivity. They're getting more and more affirmations based on that reactive vibration to affirm to them that the world is not in their favor or they don't have control of reality. But because you're being exposed to this information right now, put this to work and you're going to see more and more and more as you maintain and you exercise that degree of poise and mental firmness, that you'll be able to navigate through chaos. Carl Jung says this. In chaos, there is divine order. For those that are ready for it. Okay? For those that are ready for it. This principle and that of polarity have been closely studied by the Hermetists. And the methods for counteracting, neutralizing, and using them form an important part of the Hermetic mental alchemy. Again, it goes back to mental. All of this is revealed in your mind by the thoughts. Remember, we talked about this, and it was said in Stranger's Secret by Earl Nightingale. The prophets, wise men, preachers, philosophers have disagreed upon many different things. It is only in one thing that there are complete unanimous agreement, and that is you become what you think about. So all is mind. Now,